Beverly Carter was my sweet mom. She was an executive broker and a top producing real estate professional from the North Little Rock, Arkansas area. While doing the work that my mom loved so much, she was kidnapped and murdered in the fall of 2014. A couple of weeks before that showing that took my mom from me, my mom began hearing from a couple. Their story was that they were out-of-state buyers. They were relocating due to work, cash buyers, and my mom was hearing from them from phone calls, text, and emails. Their phone number matched that of an out-of-state buyer. Their email address matched the fictitious names that they had given her. But my mom had no idea that these people were not who they said they were. She had no idea of their intentions to kidnap her, to hold her for ransom, and to take her perceived wealth. The husband of this couple that took my mom said, when he was questioned, "Why Beverly?" He said, "Because she was a rich broker that worked alone." Just being in the profession, marketing herself as the professional that she was, made her a target. As my mom worked with this couple and learned more about how she could best serve them, she reached out to other agents within her agency to get them to be on the lookout for properties that might be of interest to this couple. My mom talked about this couple and their needs to my dad. And so many people were aware that Mom was working with these clients. However, something happened when the couple reached out and they requested to see a specific property. A property that my mom knew was vacant and was in a bit of disarray. A property that my mom knew probably wouldn't be what they were looking for. We know that it raised a red flag with my mom because my mom did a great thing. And that's that she made up a company policy in the moment, and she said to them, "I'm so sorry, but company policy prohibits me from working alone in a rural area." What my mom didn't anticipate was that the husband handed the phone to his wife, and the wife said, "Hey girl, I'm going to be joining the two of you at this property. Will your company be okay for the three of us to be there during this showing?" My mom, being so sweet and so professional, did as many of us would. She agreed to show them this property. A property that, I'll add, was known to be in a safe area. This was a common place for my mom. It's a lakefront property. Just a few doors down from this home is where the pastor of my mother's church lived. A community known for its safe community feel, where people are known to not even lock their doors. So my mom agreed to meet this couple and show them this property. It's 6 p.m. Keep in mind, my mom had never met them in a public place prior to this. My mom had no idea that on the other end of this transaction, the husband was a 7-time felon. And so my mom got to that property early that day, after calling my dad and saying that she was going to show that specific property, and Dad knew exactly where she'd be. 6 p.m. came, and a black car pulls up in the driveway, and it's the husband. And the husband starts in with all these excuses about how he's sorry that the wife will not be able to join them, that she got caught up at work. And sure enough, just kind of in tandem with those excuses, my mom's phone starts receiving text messages from the wife with the apologies. They asked my mom to proceed with showing the property that day, and asked my mom that while she toured the home with the husband, if she would just use her cell phone to take property photos to send to the wife. So it could be as though she was on the showing, at least digitally. And so my mom agreed to show the property. And really one of the toughest things I've ever seen is at the conclusion of the trial, we received my mother's cell phone back, and the last 10 photos on the camera roll were of the interior of this home. And my mom was showing property that day as she was texting them to the wife and answering questions about the property. But my mom had no idea that on the second floor, one of the bedrooms, as she turned from taking a photograph, that she would be met with a roll of tape just like this one and a taser in her side. The bad guy has been very proud to admit that the last words that my mother heard in her safety were, "You're about to have a very bad day." That bad guy tased my mom. He taped her hands behind her back. He taped her ankles together. He ran this tape entirely around her head over her eyes and entirely around her head over her mouth. He went outside and got in his car and backed his car up to the house and opened the trunk and placed my mom in the trunk of that car. He took my mom to a remote area and made her do the first of what would be a series of ransom recordings. These were intended to get my dad to pay a hefty ransom so that these bad guys would never have to work again. After having my mom record that ransom recording, he took my mom to their home, to the bad guy's home, and locked her in their master bathroom. It was at that point that this bad guy thought about this ransom plan and how they would get these funds from my father. And their original plan was that they would use this rich broker's purse and have this husband push all of this money to the cards within the purse. But in that moment, they found a major flaw in their plan. As a safety precaution, my mom never showed property with her purse on her shoulder. She had left it locked in her car. So in his haste to kidnap my sweet mom and to put her in the trunk of his car, he forgot the purse. That night, he left my mom at his home being guarded by the wife of this couple. And he came back to get the purse, and he found that my entire family was there. Law enforcement was there. And as with so many criminals, they think that they have the best and the brightest plan and they won't get caught. And then they see blue lights and they make crazy decisions. And in the case of my sweet mom, they decided to end my mother's life when they realized that their plan wouldn't work. I carry with me my mother's name badge. This is the badge that she was wearing that day whenever she was showing property. It's a really harsh reality and reminder that these people perceived her not as the precious person that she was, but as a vehicle for money. And whenever they couldn't get what they wanted, they took this precious person, they broke it, and they discarded it. My mother's body was found buried in a shallow grave after days and days of searching. We're fortunate that in my mother's case, there was at least some justice, and that the people that took her are in prison now But our family has obviously a huge hole that can't be filled from my precious mom. And so in the aftermath of losing her, we've recognized what can happen within this industry and the things that we need to do to keep a similar tragedy from ever happening again. And so in response to losing my precious mom, we founded a nonprofit in her name. It's called the Beverly Carter Foundation. And it exists solely for safety awareness, training, victim advocacy, all for this industry. The industry that my mom loved so much, that she gave so much to, but also now an industry that can learn from my sweet mom and keep this from happening to other people. We welcome you to come to our website, check out our resources, rally with us to help keep others safe. Our web address is beverlycarterfoundation.org.